JJ, the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Now listen, as a CPA, I want to tell all of you business owners, one of the most key things that I tell my clients, this is literally one of the most key things, which is only look at cash basis financials, okay? And if you don't know the difference between cash and accrual, that's cool. All you need to be able to tell whoever's doing your financials that you want to see them on cash basis. Now, some systems only produce accrual, and so you need to find a way that you stop and get a different accounting system that's going to produce cash basis financials. Here's why, and I've got it in my book. I talk about it, difference between cash and accrual. But here's why you want cash basis financials. It is a reality set of financials. Reality as in it's what has actually been collected by your company and what your company has actually paid out. When you're looking at accrual financials, I could make your company look like it's worth $10 million, even if you're a barber with one chair. The reason that the accrual exists is for banks and investors and large companies. It allows them to forecast, but they're based on what has been billed but not collected. It's based on what's due but not paid. Follow? So you could say, well, I've billed out $1 million. Well, good for you. How much have you collected? And when you're looking at accrual financials, you'll have no idea what you've collected. So is it more important that you know that you've billed out $1 million, or is it more important to go, well, how much have I collected? Now, when do you want to see anything related to what accrual would be? Okay. Here's what you would want to see as it relates to accrual. Okay. And you don't need to see the financials on accrual basis to see what I'm getting ready to tell you, because what I'm getting ready to tell you would be the most valuable part, and maybe the only most valuable part for you as a small business owner in ever considering anything related to accrual, okay? And that is this. If your customers owe you money, then you have what's called an accounts receivable, right? It's who owes me money. And if you're tracking that, most likely you could be tracking who you owe money to, which is your accounts payable, okay? Look at those two numbers, compare them, and then you know the strength of what's going on with your future cash position in 1 second. And how is that? On the accrual, meaning your accounts receivable and your accounts payable, think of it this way. If you're owed $100,000 and you owe others $100,000, you don't have a good future cash position. That means everything you're going to bring in, you got to pay out. And most of the time, accounts payable doesn't include things like payroll, because typically accounts payable is things that I've gotten the product or I've gotten the service and I'm going to pay it here soon. Accounts payable doesn't usually include things typically in a smaller business that are just routine expenses. And without getting into a big discussion of what should be in accounts payable and what shouldn't be, what I want you to know is that the difference between your AR and your AP is really what you would be interested in as a small business owner as it relates to who have I billed and who do I owe. Because if you go, well, I'm owed $100,000 and my accounts payable, people that I owe, is $10,000, you can go, wow, I got a good future cash position because I'm going to bring in $100,000 and I only owe $10,000 to other people. Okay. So you have a difference of $90,000. Now, hear me on this. If you're a business owner, though, that the second something comes in, you pay it, which there's nothing wrong with that, you're still in a position of knowing I still have a strong future cash position, okay? But notice how the way you approach paying your bills, the way you approach billing your clients, the way that you approach collecting and all those things can muck up that quick your financials. And therefore, when you're looking at accrual financials, in my opinion, You're just not looking at an accurate picture in what you need to know as a small business owner. Okay? Now, accrual financials have their place. They have their place. But I'm talking about the small business owner that's like me. You know, you're a one owner. Maybe you're a two owner. You're in it. You're hoofing it and you're working it. Okay? Now, someone that owns multiple businesses, there's reasons that they may want to look at the accrual because they're looking at it in a different way than you are. They're most likely not relying on that day-to-day activity, that day-to-day inflow and outflow of cash to support their life. Okay? So, let's bring it all the way back to cash basis financials. When you're looking at cash basis financials, okay, you know, here's what I collected. You know, here's what I paid. But here's the secret. Here's the secret to cash basis financials, in my opinion, is that you get a rolling 12 on your income statement. And if you're using QuickBooks, it's that easy because when you pull up your P&L, you just put a date of when you want to see your figures and an end date. And they can be rolling 12, meaning the last 12 months. It's really not that valuable for you, or it's not as valuable for you to look at cash basis financials and go, well, what have I done this calendar year? Big whoopee ho ho, because you don't run your life based on a calendar. You're running your business and your life based on what's going on, okay? And you can really fool yourself unintentionally by looking at your financials and go, well, January through April of this year, I've collected, $150,000. Last January through April, I collected $100,000. Wow, I'm up in my collections. Yeah, it sounds like you are. Here's what's going to be more valuable, okay? And when I was in college, there was a concept called the acid test that had nothing to do with this concept that I'm telling you about. But the acid test was, let's really drill down. Let's peel away. Let's burn away all the things that distract us on actually what is going on. So if you were to look at a set of financials, cash basis, that was including May of 19, for example, through April 2020. You're looking at the last 12 months, okay? And you're looking at collections of the last 12 months and payroll, the last 12 months. You're going to have the most accurate picture. How is my business doing right now? Okay? Because you may look and go, okay, well, the last 12 months, here's what I've collected. What did I collect in the previous 12 months? Many small business owners, especially the ones that I work with, we may do some different things at year end, prepayments, things to that effect, which is going to skew any numbers going into the next year, right? So if you prepay a whole bunch of expenses at the end of the calendar year to help you tax-wise, which is all very allowable, the IRS allows you to prepay up to 12 months of expenses in advance and deduct them when you pay it. Makes a lot of sense. I have clients and they're like, wow, I've had a big year. I don't think next year's going to be as big for whatever reason. We go, well, on December 31, why don't we just pay January's rent? Instead of paying everybody on 1/1 of the next year, let's pay them on 12/31, just as a minor example. But now that skews both years, right? Because the year that you're leaving now might have 13 months of rent in it. And the year that you're in might have, if we're going and we're looking at financials through April, may only have 3 months of rent in it. So even when you're looking at your net income, you might be like, wow, our net income's up. And it's like, well, is it? Or is it just that you didn't have 1 month worth of rent in your calendar year? So cash basis financials, which is truly what came in and truly what went out, okay, is key. And along with that is a 12-month P&L. Fire whoever you're working with all due respect to whoever you're working with. Fire them if they will not produce for you cash basis financials. If you have someone in working with you and they've been there 15 years and they say it's not possible, their job is to find how it's possible. Stop looking at accrual financials, they mean nothing to you as a small business owner. They don't. Small business owner, that you're in it, you're hoofing it, you're working it, and how much you do this month depends on if you're going to be able to buy soccer cleats for your kid next month. Okay? I'm not talking about big businesses here. I'm talking about the majority of small businesses that are in it. They are knee deep, if not neck deep, in their business. Okay? QuickBooks. You go to a report at the top, it says customize, and then the newer QuickBooks, it says right there, cash or accrual. It's a click, and you have cash basis financials that quick. You need to look at cash basis financials, period, the end. I've got 2 other videos that I want you to watch that talk about what are the most important things for the small business owner to look at. This is the first one, cash basis financials, and just tagged onto that would be cash basis financials, and look at a P&L the last 12 months. Yes, you still want to see a P&L for year to date, goes into tax purposes. Yes, you want to know your accounts payable, your accounts receivable, for what I said earlier, but you need to know cash basis. You'll fool yourself unintentionally looking at accrual financials, because you're going to be like, wow, look at this. We just billed out $1 million. Okay, well, so what? Did you actually collect it? If you're a company that size, who billed it out? Okay. Was it you? Maybe you did. Why does it matter what you billed out? What matters for a small business is what actually got collected. You do want to know what's coming in. You do want to know what you got going out in the future. But when you're looking at financials and you're making decisions on financials and you're really wanting to know, how is my business doing? The cash basis financials is where the rubber meets the road, period, the end. And every single client that I've ever worked with in my going now into my 28th year of practice, without exception, that has only seen accrual financials, has an awakening when I say, that's great, and you can keep doing that, and it makes sense for whatever purposes and the bank and all that. But for you as the owner, we need to look at cash basis financials, and their business has improved because they understand their numbers better. They're able to make better decisions based on cash basis financials. When you see a loss on cash basis financials, that's a real loss. You see a loss on accrual, okay? That doesn't mean really anything. All it means is you probably haven't booked what you've billed your clients yet, okay? So from my perspective, if you're trying to make true decisions, that cash basis set of financials is going to lead you in there. And when I say fire, I say that very facetiously, because anybody can produce for you cash basis financials. And most likely, if you have a CPA firm or an enrolled agent or a tax pro or a bookkeeping company, most likely they are giving them to you in cash basis. But I was shocked out of my mind this last week. Shocked, like, are you kidding me? I cannot believe this garbage that I am looking at is a CPA firm that's in a client, and it's somebody I'm helping for nothing as part of what I'm doing here. So they're not coming on as a client, and they are paying a tremendous amount of money, $20,000 a year, for crap, pieces of crap, doo-doo set of financials with someone spending hours and hours and hours and hours putting in information on an accrual basis that is total crap. They're not even accurate. They're not even right. And why? Because there's this huge separation for what's really happening to what the CPA firm thinks is happening. Now, I'm not beating up on the CPA firm, and all I'm beating up on is, why are we looking at accrual financials? And when I talked with them, they said, wow, we've never even understood why we would have this, what these numbers mean. We've learned more in this short period of time about our financials than we probably ever understood. They understood immediately by me pulling up reports that I just told you about. But at the end of the day, the books that you need to be looking at need to be cash basis. And so whoever you're working with can do it. If they can't do it, then they need to go do something else. Okay? They need to go do something else. And if you're working with somebody that says, oh, we can't do cash or we won't do cash, fire them. Okay. That'd be like going to get your hair cut and they're like, well, we only do perms here. Okay. Or you go to get your car wash and like, well, we only do oil changes here. You're going to go to somebody that can wash your car. You're going to go to somebody that can cut your hair versus they only can give you a perm, right? So start thinking that whatever the heck it is that you're paying for and whatever these numbers are in front of you, it has nothing to do for whoever's preparing them for you. The bank may want them, but the bank's going to be more impressed that you know those numbers. And the way for you to know those numbers is they need to be on cash basis. So why do I say things like fire them? I say that to empower you to know that this is customary. Now, I bet you 90% of you that are getting financials from somebody that's preparing them for you internally, they're cash basis, and you may not even realize it, but you need to ask. And probably 99% of you, when you say to whoever it is, hey, I need cash basis financials, they're going to produce them for you, or they're going to do it. Okay. But for those that have that 1%, which to be honest with you, as I'm now interacting with more people on YouTube and across the nation, I'm literally being shocked in the state of awe at how many aren't getting cash basis financials. So I don't know if it's because there are people out there that think you need to have accrual. I have no idea. Or you have software that only gives you accrual. I don't really care. Because if you're interested in having the best set of financials to make a good decision, then it's cash basis that you want. If you're in a set of circumstances where then you're like, okay, I'm looking at these cash basis financials, what is it that I need to look at? Okay, that's where you need to tune into the other 2 videos that are coming. And this is a playlist called Learning with JJ the CPA. So I will be releasing those other 2 videos. And you'll need to look in the playlist of Learning with JJ the CPA, because this is geared towards the small owner that wants to be maybe a little more serious about the numbers. There's really no reason to pay anybody to do accounting every month if you're not going to look at the numbers. And there's really no reason to pay someone more than like 15 to 20 bucks an hour to do any of your bookkeeping for you if they can't explain it to you. Okay? You need to get somebody in your world that can explain financials to you. And if you stick with my series of videos, I'm going to be doing that with you. And if you check out my book, you'll be able to see a few chapters where I walk you through that. So at the end of the day, you do want to do that. That's why you've made it this far through the video, and I appreciate that. And these are your numbers. So freaking use your numbers. Understand your own numbers. You cannot make good decisions in your business. I don't care if it's up here, because that's what I hear, including with this group. That's what I hear. Well, it's up here, steel trap. Great. We don't even have to go to where, well, what if you get hit by a bus? Okay. But whenever I sit down with somebody and say, yeah, it makes sense. I know you know your numbers. And I even have videos where I'm like, no one knows your numbers better than you. But when you look at a set of financials, you need to understand them, because once you start understanding, you're going to know what's up here. Here's what it translates to in black and white. One of the clients that I brought on probably 15 years ago, same thing. Was a real big attorney, was a boxer, 6'7". It was very intimidating. And I had worked for years to try and bring on this law firm. I was very excited when I brought him on. But I said, well, let's get together and talk about the financials. And he had no interest in that because it was all up here and that didn't make any sense. And you're just going to charge us and you're just coming in. We have an internal person and bookkeeper. And, what do we need all that for? And I said, just trust me. In 1 minute, if 60 seconds in, we spend $12,000 a year on parking. I said, well, this is why we want to go through these numbers. And like that routine, and that individual referred a lot of people to me and used that story, that I didn't want to look at financials. I've had my own business for 15 years, meaning this client, and I never knew that we were spending that much on parking. And it was just because this guy over here said, well, we're going to just look at the numbers. So there were financials being prepared, just never looked at them. It's like, oh, I got a good bookkeeper and they're taking care of it. Tell them the taxes, I got a good individual doing that. Yeah, I'm probably sure that's correct. but you need to look at your numbers. You need to understand them. So 2 more videos related to this, which is the most important things that a small business owner needs to know about their financials. This is 1 of 3. I'll have more to come after that, but this is a 1 of 3 video series on the most important things for a small business owner to understand about their own financials. Now listen, I love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you made it to here, I love you. I really do. And if you haven't subscribed, why? You need to subscribe. Like, what? You're killing me. All right. Hey, have a great day. Get Cash Basis Financials. Get them in front of you. I guarantee they're going to be more enlightening to you than you realize. And then stay tuned for the other 2 parts. All right. Hey, don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.